While most escape room mechanic films begin with a group of strangers waking up in a mysterious locked room with little to no memory of how they got there or what's requested from them, that's not always the case. Sometimes you simply just need to change things up a little bit to still feel like it belongs in this subgenre, yet also feel somewhat fresh and original at the same time. Exam is one such film, and one of the very few that I'm looking at that I've actually seen in the past. But I'd mostly forgotten most of the details of the plot, including how it ended. The only thing that I really remembered was liking it, though it was a film that was released 15 years ago, so, times and expectations have changed since then, so can it still entertain me all this time later? Let's get cracking. In Exam, 8 prospective applicants arrive in a secluded room to take, an exam. They have 80 minutes to answer just one question. And at the end of the time limitation, only one candidate will be moving on to the job they applied to. There's only one problem. Nothing is written on the paper in front of them. So they have to use their skill and wit to first solve the riddle on what the question even is that they have to answer before they can actually answer it. But with tension and desperation rising, things undoubtedly become heated. Alright guys, so when it comes down to a minimalist style in films like this, you don't want to go too simplistic. Too much of a good thing can absolutely be a bad thing, but knowing your limits and embracing it is always a great experience, and that's exactly what you find with Exam, which I personally find to be extremely well written if nothing else. But I also found the performances and overall execution to be surprisingly good. I remember this movie being one of my favorite escape room type films, and 15 years later, I still mostly agree with that sentiment. You can easily watch extremely intricate escape room films with puzzles galore and be a spectacle to look at like in the escape room films, or maybe just filled to the brim with buckets and buckets and blood and guts exploding onto the screen, like with the Saw franchise. But Exam doesn't do either. Instead, it relies much more on brilliant psychological dialogue and logical deduction, which flows as smooth as butter. Think about it. You got 80 minutes to answer one question. Just one question. That's it. All you got in front of you? Blank piece of paper that you're not allowed to spoil, or you'll be disqualified. Spoiling includes writing on it, by the way, so these people use their brains together in order to figure out if maybe the question's written with invisible ink, and the conversation goes on from there. It's relatable, it's brilliant, it's tense. The performances feel mostly genuine, even though you can feel that early 2000s vibe going on throughout the movie. The only real negative that I feel like I should mention about Exam was its lack in explaining the job that it was that all of these people were trying to get, or why it was so important to them. They all want it so bad that it's essentially a MacGuffin. Most audience members might immediately think about some kind of underground government position, maybe something like the FBI, CIA, NSA, DEA, or like me, I was thinking Men in Black, because if you remember that test that all those guys were taking to be the best of the best of the best, sir, that's what I was thinking. But that's not exactly what's going on here. It's around the halfway point of the film, or maybe even further, that they broadly explain it, but it doesn't really go into vivid detail. I believe that was instead to focus more so on the mystery of the film, which was already on a roll, and too much exposition might ruin the pacing of that. Sometimes with mysteries like this, there's more oomph on the presentation of the mystery itself and the clues associated with that mystery than the actual satisfaction with the ending. Usually it's not all that great. But I actually found the ending of this film to be really clever, but obviously not all movies can be Saw when it comes down to the end denouement, the moment at the end where they explain the whole thing. While they attempt to do something like that, and while it does make sense, there was some missing potential in terms of how they made the rest of the movie. Characters do things off camera throughout the film that you never see, but they are explained at the end of the movie to fit all the pieces together. What I prefer is when we actually see these characters actually doing this action in the film itself without any explanation at all. Then during the climax, the explanation will make people have more of a visceral reaction because they didn't catch it the first time around, but they won't be able to see anything else upon second watch. Think of things like The Sixth Sense or any of the earlier Saw films where the answer was right in front of your face the entire time. While Exam doesn't exactly have one of these types of endings, the one that it did have was still, it was clever enough to work and be entertained by. but it still missed out on at least some potentiality. Overall, in terms of escape room mechanics, the film fits the bill really well, and still to this day, I can't really say I've really seen anything very similar to it. You know, it's not horror like escape room films usually are, but rather a brilliant mystery and light thriller that makes you think just a little bit, you know, plus it doesn't hurt that I find it really unpredictable. I've seen it twice. I personally thought it was unpredictable both times. So I'm gonna give this a B+. Certain things about it I guess you can consider to be flawed, but for the most part I had a good time with it. Time flew by when I was watching it. Most of the dialogue in the film was really smart. The only thing is that most of the characters aren't super memorable. I don't think they really were supposed to be memorable. They were kind of representative of stereotypes and tropes. But it doesn't really matter, guys. Have you seen Exam? If you have, leave me your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Are you a fan of escape room type films? Is this one that you consider to be one of your favorite escape room films or least favorite? Let me know. And as for you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out.